Hello everyone. Recently NASA awarded an Artemis Human Landing System contract to SpaceX. Two of the other bidders on the Human Landing System have submitted formal protests to the Government Accountability Office on the selection of SpaceX. Today we're going to review the circumstances of the protests and what it means to the Artemis program. Welcome to Reaching for the Moon, hosted by me, Ed Grace. For those of you that don't know me, I worked on the Apollo program for 10 years and was a member of the Apollo 13 Mission Operations Team awarded the Presidential Medal of Freedom. A year ago, NASA awarded initial design competition contracts to 3 vendors to develop an affordable commercial Artemis Human Landing System for its planned 2024 moon landing. These contractors were SpaceX, Blue Origin, and Dynetics. At the contract award time, NASA announced that its intention was to award follow-on contracts to 2 of the 3 companies early in 2021, thus encouraging competition and protection against the possibility of one of the designs having a major problem during development. SpaceX's proposal was a version of its Starship rocket that SpaceX is currently developing for use in its own deep space missions. Blue Origin created its dream team, consisting of Lockheed Martin, Northrop Grumman, and Draper Labs, which proposed a traditional 2-stage lander. Dynetics partnered with Sierra Nevada and several smaller firms and also proposed a traditional 2-stage lander. Subsequent to NASA issuing the initial Human Landing System contracts, Congress only approved $850 million in the 2021 budget for the Artemis Human Landing System, which is only about 25% of what Jim Bridenstine, the NASA administrator at that time, had requested in his budget request and stated was required for the Human Landing System program. Recently, NASA selected SpaceX as the sole contractor of the Artemis Human Landing System and awarded SpaceX a $2.9 billion contract to develop and build its human landing system. NASA stated that SpaceX's price was the lowest of the 3 teams by a very wide margin. Soon thereafter, both Blue Origin and Dynetics submitted formal protests to the Government Accountability Office, challenging the $2.9 billion contract awarded to SpaceX from NASA to build the human landing system to be used by the Artemis astronauts to return to the moon. Both companies accused NASA of executing a flawed acquisition for their Artemis Human Landing System program. The protests are based upon these major points of contention. NASA stated many times that it intended to issue follow-on contracts to 2 companies. NASA had placed a bigger emphasis on the bottom line costs than it said it would, and NASA had gone to SpaceX and negotiated the price of its proposal. It did not have similar discussions with the other 2 vendors. In its award to SpaceX, NASA is requiring SpaceX to demonstrate the uncrewed landing of Artemis Human Landing System on the moon before it can ferry astronauts, which was not a task that was listed in the bid offering. In the meantime, the Government Accountability Office has 90 days to investigate and make a ruling on the protests. During this 90-day period, SpaceX is not allowed to spend any of the awarded funds or do any work related to the contract. Privately, SpaceX had 4 launches of its Starship prior to being awarded the HLS. Each of them successfully launched, but none of them landed the booster safely back on Earth to be reused, as they have done many times with their Falcon rocket. After the HLS contract was awarded, SpaceX launched its next Starship from its Boca Chica, Texas launch facility. The launch was successful, as was the booster landing. This was the first successful landing of the Starship booster. Even though SpaceX is not allowed to proceed on the Human Landing System contract, it is making progress on its Starship vehicle. However, a 90-day minimum delay in the Artemis Human Landing System program almost certainly means that the return to the moon in 2024 mission is in jeopardy. If the Government Accountability Office finds favorably for the protesters, the SpaceX award will be canceled and NASA will need to go through a new procurement process. This will require NASA to develop a new procurement specification, and the vendors will need to submit new proposals to be evaluated. This could mean a significant delay in the Artemis moon landing program. Based upon information that's in the public domain, the feeling is that there is a good chance that the process will be upheld by the GAO. I can only assume that NASA spent many hours with their attorneys prior to selecting SpaceX to make sure all was in proper order for the SpaceX selection. In the meantime, Bill Nelson, former senator from Florida, has been approved as the new NASA administrator and certainly has a tough assignment in his early days in charge of NASA. What do you think is going to be the Government Accountability Office's decision? Uphold or deny the protests? Leave your opinion in the comments section below. Well, with that uncertainty, I'm going to end today's video. If you did enjoy the video, give us a like. Hit the subscribe and notification buttons to be notified every time Reaching for the Moon posts a new video. Thank you for watching, and remember always, failure is not an option. Bye.